A fresh start, a tale of infidelity, a story shared on Reddit. It's definitely something you shouldn't miss, as the saying goes. In a moment of frustration, I thought that since I had to move, I might as well go as far away as possible from where I was. It couldn't be a quaint little village tucked away in the back of beyond, even though I was tempted, since I needed to work, and there isn't much demand for my skills in a small village. Additionally, I've always been a city person at heart, and the idea of spending long evenings having lively philosophical discussions about, or perhaps with, sheep didn't exactly excite me. I could choose between the East Shore and the West. I picked the West. The next tasks were to find a cozy place to stay and some fun activities to enjoy. It turned out to be quite simple to find a place to stay. I called a few letting agencies until I found a short-term lease on a property that was just the right size for me, and the rent was quite reasonable too. I was picking the perfect time of year to move. In just 5 or 6 months, IDV paid more than double what the tourist season brought in once it got into full swing. Finding a job was a bit challenging. It's not like there was a shortage of them. The focus was more on the terms and conditions than on the job itself. I had the option to apply for a full-time position, but I preferred not to feel tied down. After all, I might not enjoy the place and feel like moving on. Freelancing was the solution, and once more, I found myself with options. I have the option to sign with either a big national agency or a cozy local one. Big agencies with familiar names felt a lot more secure. They followed the rules, and you could count on getting paid at the end of the month. One challenge was that clients often liked to buy in large quantities, which could lead to a team of 6 or more working hard to meet a deadline that had been set by the MD or someone else after enjoying a few too many G&Ts at a business dinner. Smaller agencies often have a more personal touch. The good ones usually had more engaging assignments and took great care of their team. The not-so-great ones really caused some trouble for everyone. The issue was that, if you weren't familiar with the scene, it was hard to distinguish between them. I decided to go with a smaller agency. I had several reasons for this. If they didn't work out, I wouldn't be in a worse spot than I am right now. If they were good, then I might have a better chance of enjoying the assignments. I went with my gut feeling. They had some great clients, and the work seemed interesting, but what really stood out was the voice of the woman on the phone. She seemed really honest and truly interested in getting me signed up. I went through all the typical challenges with packing, storage, lawyers, the gas board, the phone company, and even Uncle Tom Cobley. But in the end, I was finally on my way west. I grabbed the keys from the letting agent and, after a couple of wrong turns, happily discovered the flat. It wasn't exactly what I had in mind based on the details. It's amusing how agents' descriptions often don't align with reality, though you could never really say they were outright lying. It was cozy enough, I guess, but it was a bit snug. A nearly square box separated into 3 rooms, including a kitchen and bathroom, with partitions made of 2 layers of plasterboard instead of traditional walls. It was just for 3 months after all. I had a settling-in day, and then I got to report to my first client. Since I got a local AZ, I found the place without any trouble. The job was just as described. The people were nice and allowed me to focus on my work without any interruptions. I reached out with a few questions about the agency and got a really positive response. That was such a relief because it meant I had a good chance of getting paid. The month flew by in a flash. This company really appreciated the help from others, and I was welcome to join in all the usual social activities, both at work and outside of it. Actually, a few of the staff, upon discovering that I was from the South, kindly decided to help me out by sharing the wonderful benefits and rich history of their city. People like that can be a bit dull, but as the new kid, I really appreciated their input, especially since it was shared in such a fun way. One of the things about being the new boy was that I made an effort to be helpful, even in areas that didn't really involve me. If this agency is as great as the company thinks, I'd love to provide them with a positive report. If I could get my feet under the table, I would be all set for future work. We said our goodbyes with heartfelt sadness. I feel like I did a good job. I'm confident that I did a good job. I felt really good about my work. And the next day, I received a phone call from the agency letting me know they thought so too. They asked me for a little favor too. I was all set to head over to another small company in a nearby town for the next couple of weeks. Unfortunately, one of their standout team members had been in a car accident, leaving them a bit short-staffed for a project with a major client in the city. Would it be all right if I helped them out? Now I can sense a con when I hear one. I don't mean to say they were lying. The poor fellow probably had been in an accident and was in the hospital with his leg in plaster or something even worse. However, it was clear they weren't sharing the entire story with me. The deciding factor was when they offered me a better salary. I felt like telling them to go away. I was new and didn't have any loyalty to them, but I decided to say yes. I'm not quite sure why. The job ended up being just as challenging as I had thought it might be. To begin with, the company was quite large and had a lot of bureaucracy. They had their unique approach to doing things, one that didn't quite match any commonly accepted standards, and they were quite firm about sticking to that method. It's not really my preferred way of working. Sometimes non-standard procedures can take a bit of time to get used to, which might slow down the work we're meant to focus on, but I can manage it. The project manager was the one responsible for the incident. She was, to put it kindly, a rather self-important person. There were 3 of us from the agency involved in a 6-week project, and we spent most of the first morning in her office while she shared her thoughts with us, expressing that she had high expectations and would be closely monitoring our progress throughout the project. I took a quick look at my fellow inmates. They had been here before, so they understood what to expect. Their faces were kept quite neutral. We began our work, and I found myself spending time trying to figure out why I needed to fill out Form AB-123 for X and Form UV-789 for Y, especially since X and Y were 2 parts of the same thing. Mrs. Cartwright, as I affectionately called her, was not very happy and made sure I was aware of it. She had her deadlines and her expectations, and I was determined to meet them. I managed to do it by working late more often than not. It was obvious she was trying to get under my skin to support her belief that all contractors were no good, and I was determined not to give her that satisfaction. My teammates weren't very helpful either. They accepted this job for the pay and were just thankful that, since I was in the spotlight, they could carry on with their work in a more peaceful environment. I mention relative because Mrs. Cartwright truly believed in teams, even though she wasn't quite sure how to manage one. We worked on weekly forecasts, daily diaries, and weekly progress reports, which were carefully reviewed and discussed during our weekly team meetings. After tearing apart our current progress, she would then share, in great detail, what we should aim to achieve next week. It never seemed to register with her that this had no connection to the work that truly needed to be done. I soon found out that the other 2 had figured out how to angle their reports, so it seemed like they were doing what she believed they should be doing. The 8 weeks went by, and finally, we stepped out of the building for the last time. My teammates asked me to join them for a drink. I didn't exactly let them know where to shove it, even though I was tempted to do so. Why would I want to hang out with them when they made me their fall guy for a month and a half? I called the agency the next day to let them know I wouldn't be available for a few days. I was enjoying a little break. Feel free to take a week. You totally deserve it. I'll give you half the fee as a little thank you. That was pretty typical. It was something we had never seen before. There's no need to do that. You really came through for me in a tough spot. Thank you so much. Well, there's an old saying about gift horses, so you might want to look away quickly. Go ahead and take it. I really think it's important. Thank you. That's really kind of you. Thanks a bunch. I have something planned for you a week from Monday. Could you give me a call later in the week? Sure thing. That was quite an interesting chat. I always chatted with the same woman on the phone, and I thought she was just the one who connected with the contractors. She mentioned that she would pay the bonus and encouraged me to accept it. Employees, unless they're quite senior, typically don't make that kind of offer, so I'm curious about who I was interacting with. A captivating little mystery. I had a week filled with searching for better accommodation. It seems like I had a lucky week because I discovered the perfect spot. A cozy 4-room flat in a charming old Edwardian apartment. I didn't fully catch the story about how it became vacant, but it didn't really bother me. I'm excited to share that by moving in at the end of the month and signing an 18-month lease, I was able to get a little discount on the rent since it was a tad pricier than my current place. Every little bit helped. I called the agency on Friday to update them about my upcoming change of address and to find out more about the next assignment. My interesting contact gave me a compliment. It seems I got even luckier than I realized because my new flat is in a pretty nice area. So, are you thinking of hanging out for a while? It looks that way. Great. She didn't go into detail. She was in a particularly chatty mood, and I had no objections since she had a lovely telephone manner and was easy to talk to. I hung up feeling even more curious than before. What made her happy about my presence here for the foreseeable future? I really enjoyed the new job, and I felt the same way about the one that followed and the one after that too. As summer started to fade, the crowds of tourists were starting to consider packing their bags and heading back to their homes. Then I received another call from my intriguing lady. "I'm going to lean on your kindness once more," she said without any introduction. "Oh dear." I let out a little groan. "Oh no, not Mrs. Cartwright again." "Mrs. Cartwright, the project non-manager on the last challenging project you assigned to me?" She chuckled. It was the very first time I heard her laugh. It was such a lovely sound. "Absolutely not. Not Mrs. Cartwright. I'm looking for a team leader right away. It seems like you've had experience with that kind of thing before. Could you lend me a hand once more?" "What kind of team and what type of company?" I asked with a bit of hesitation. Actually, I had already decided that I would take the job. The company was a big financial institution, and the task was to step in for a permanent staff member who was on long-term sick leave. This wasn't the best position to fill. First, you'll want to quickly get up to speed with the ongoing projects. Next, it's important to soothe the concerns of the current team members who feel they deserved the temporary promotion instead of bringing someone new on board. It seems like some folks don't realize that if they were truly capable of the job, they would have already been considered for a promotion. Third, well, I guess I was really going to need to use all my people skills and then some. The contract was flexible, but it was guaranteed to last at least 2 months. It ended up being better than I expected. I had a wonderful team, and most of them understood how important it was for me to be there. There was the typical maneuvering for position among my peers and the usual efforts to pass off the less desirable projects on the newcomer. I had enough experience to steer clear of the big mistakes. I believe I really felt accepted about 3 weeks after I got started. I returned from a management meeting and gathered my team together. I shared with them that we had been asked to take on a new project and what it was all about. Around the table, faces turned pale and the temperature seemed to drop a few degrees. I asked them to leave me alone. I mentioned it in a laid-back way. The expressions shifted to ones of disbelief. "You didn't, right?" I didn't use those exact words, but I was pretty close. "Hey, everyone. I'm new here, but I definitely have some experience under my belt. I can easily see a can of worms from far away, and that project clearly has the label right on the front in big bold letters." I received an invitation for a drink that Friday, and I felt like I truly belonged, at least for that moment. I also found my enthusiasm for women again. The situation that prompted my journey west had left me feeling a bit disheartened about the species, and I was too occupied with settling in to really care. One morning, I ran into a lovely blonde girl at the coffee machine. It was being its typical moody self. Commuting with the mothership was the phrase we used when it unexpectedly chose to stop working, only to just as suddenly spring back to life again. We started talking, and I was pleasantly surprised to find that the old spark was still there. It felt like we were both on the same page since we kept running into each other, almost like it was meant to be. I asked her out. She said yes. We had a great time that led to a second date, then a third. And before we knew it, it was clear that Emily and I were together. We both didn't have high expectations. She had been bruised like I had, though not quite as badly, and neither of us was seeking a long-term commitment. We dated for a little over a month and then decided to part ways amicably. The relationship showed that I was open to connections, and after that, I found myself enjoying plenty of female companionship. Some of the potential contenders dropped out when I casually mentioned to Sophie, the IT director's PA, that I wasn't looking to settle down, but there were still plenty to keep me entertained. The third thing that happened had some pretty significant consequences. I was invited to head up to the operations director's office. Getting invited to a director's office usually had a negative vibe, but in my case, it was different since I didn't work for the operations director. I actually didn't work for the company at all. It seemed like there wasn't a clear reason for the summons. He started off with the typical gentle questions. How have I been doing? Did I enjoy working here? How did I feel about the team? How's everything going? I provided him with the typical non-committal responses. What was he hoping for? I might have mentioned that I really disliked the place and felt like jumping off a tall building. Then he shared his surprising news. Would I be interested in joining him as a special projects manager? I was totally at a loss for words this time. I stumbled over my words about the agency and my dedication, mentioning that I wasn't sure if I wanted to make this place my permanent home. He brushed it all off and kindly asked me to think about it seriously. If I were interested in pursuing it, we could chat about the specific job details, pay, and everything else. His only promise was that I would make as much as I did as a contractor, along with the pension scheme and some extra perks to enjoy. I walked out of his office feeling a bit dazed, and I don't think I caught a word anyone said to me for the rest of the day. I still didn't feel any better in the morning. The offer was certainly tempting, no doubt about it, but the two biggest concerns were, did I want to return to full-time work, and what were those special projects that led to a third? But what would happen to me if there weren't any, like if his budget had been cut? I was curious about what responsibilities I would have and how much authority I would be given to pursue my ideas. I wanted to chat with a warm voice at the agency, even though I had a feeling it might feel a bit less warm after I shared my thoughts. "Congratulations, that's awesome," was the unexpected reply. "Oh, really? Way to go. You totally deserve it. I'm just a bit surprised it took this long for someone to see how amazing you are. Oh no, that's how I feel when I think about losing you. Would you be able to come and see me after work?" I sure could. The address she shared with me was close to the harbor district. Once a lively port, the area experienced a downturn with the decrease in sea transport and gained a rather unfortunate reputation for some time. Now urban regeneration was all the rage, and the harbor district had been turned into upmarket housing. Charming wine bars have taken the place of the old spit and sawdust pubs, while delightful Thai restaurants have stepped in for the traditional fish and chip shops. I felt a little sad for the original inhabitants and found myself curious about what happened to them after the Okaya invasion began. I walked through a simple door in the unremarkable front of a charming old Victorian building just off one of the main streets and made my way up the stairs. The stairs were in great shape and the stairwell was nicely lit. The first landing featured two doors. One was plain and unmarked, while the other had frosted glass displaying the agency's name. I opened this one and stepped into a world of imagination. I found myself in what felt more like a cozy living room than a typical office reception area. That was definitely my initial thought. The decor featured lovely shades of green and gold, along with a vibrant, deep pink. There was a lovely patterned carpet with a pile of ice on the floor. The windows had curtains and lovely decorative net curtains. There were a few cozy tan leather armchairs, along with two big pot plants and a coffee table. To show that it was indeed an office, there was a wooden desk and a few filing cabinets as well. Behind the desk, which didn't have a modesty panel, was someone giving me an amused smile, looking like a friendly face from the Playboy Mansion. No, that's not fair because she wasn't just a brainless blonde bimbo. To begin with, she had lovely brunette hair, and her brown eyes sparkled with a hint of intelligence. The room really resembled something you might find in House Beautiful, or maybe even Office Beautiful, if that exists. "How can I assist you today?" she inquired. "Absolutely." I looked around the room. "To begin with, it would be great if you consider increasing my pay." The smile faded away. "If you can manage this alongside my fees, that would be great." I gave her a wink to let her know I was just kidding, and her smile came back. "That's why we usually keep this area off limits for you." "Sounds like there's some unrest among the team, huh?" "Absolutely." "Oh, I'm here because I was invited. I have an appointment with, well, this is a bit embarrassing. I've been chatting with the lady on the phone for 6 months, and I still don't know her name." The receptionist was smiling brightly now. "I could tease you a bit and ask you to prove that you have an appointment, but I won't do that since I know who you are, and Miss Boswell is looking forward to seeing you." "Oh, interesting, and I could easily put a stop to your sneaky plan with just one quick phone call." I replied, "Could you please let Miss Boswell know that I'm here?" Oh no, not again," she chuckled. "I've already done that. She shouldn't take too long. Feel free to take a seat." I felt a bit lightheaded, almost as if I was floating. This place felt absolutely incredible. I've had experience with agencies in the past, and they often felt a bit like they were operating on a tight budget, even the bigger ones. How can a small agency like this manage to enjoy such luxury? And the friendly receptionist, a stylish girl in a chic office. After the surprise of yesterday's job offer, it felt like I had entered a dream world. For a moment, the room around me seemed to disappear. "How are you doing?" The receptionist was giving me a look of concern. "Sure," I replied, blinking a few times. "Yes, I'm doing well, thank you. It might be a good idea to take a seat. Is there anything I can get for you? Would you like a glass of water?" "Thanks, but I'm good. I'm doing well." I took a nice deep breath. "I'm not sure what got into me." "Are you really sure? You seem to take a glance." Feeling a bit swamped, I was able to smile. Well, you have a really strong presence. I take that as a compliment. She had a big smile on her face. Absolutely. Thank you so much. It won't help you earn any extra money, though. I'm not sure it will even help me get a date. She let out a tiny moo. It seems you're correct. I let out a big, dramatic sigh. I figured that would be the case. She chuckled softly. At that moment, a woman came in from behind the reception area, approaching with a warm smile and an outstretched hand. Thanks for your patience. Hi there, I'm Victoria Caldwell. Even though I had chatted with her on the phone quite a bit, I still hadn't created a mental picture of Miss Boswell. If I had to guess, I'd say she's in her 40s and has a bit of a motherly vibe. That's the vibe her voice gave off, anyway. The scene in front of me was truly unlike anything else. It's so nice to finally meet you, I said softly as I shook the offered hand and admired the beautifully fitted blouse and skirt, the flawlessly done makeup, the stylishly arranged dark blonde hair, and the stunning figure. It was more than just the appearance. She exuded the vibe of a woman in her prime, radiating confidence in herself and her abilities. I noticed that I had unconsciously straightened my shoulders and pulled in my tummy. Stop by and we can chat. She kindly led the way down a short corridor, opened a door, and invited me inside with a friendly gesture. She looked just as impressive from the back. Her high-heeled shoes highlighted the length of her lovely legs and added a charming sway to her hips. Feel free to take a seat. Is there anything I can get for you? How about some tea? How about some coffee? How about something a bit more powerful? I'm not so sure alcohol is the best choice at the moment, I said with a light-hearted smile. How about some coffee? Are you saying I could offer you some drinks and have a little fun together? Her smile was playful. Not at all. I mentioned it with the same friendly intention. Working with liquor is what I do. Oh, but we are in a time of equal opportunities for women. Absolutely, we do. You can definitely enjoy yourself to the fullest, but just a bit later on. She gently touched my arm. It was just a quick touch, but she made it feel surprisingly personal. I'll be right back in just a minute. This room was, if anything, even more luxurious than the reception area. My feet gently sank into the soft cream and green carpet. The brocade chairs and settee definitely have a unique charm that you wouldn't find at IKEA. The widescreen TV looked really impressive. The bookcase and side tables were made of genuine wood. There were pictures of young women on the walls. I wasn't sure if they were photographs or paintings, but even though the poses were quite proper, there was something strangely alluring about them. I settled into one of the armchairs and took a moment to collect my thoughts. I had a feeling I would need them. Miss Boswell came back with a tray and happily started to pour the coffee. She brought a side table over to my chair and placed the coffee cup on it. It was a simple act, but she performed it with such lovely grace. She settled into the seat across from me, stretched her long legs out in front of her, and crossed her ankles with ease. I tried really hard not to look because I noticed she was trying to distract me. Hey there, are you in a bit of a rush? She inquired. Not really. The question caught me off guard. Great. I've been looking forward to meeting you for a while now. Hey there, she smiled brightly. I usually don't meet my contractors in person, but you're a special case. I totally get it. It seems like having your contractors here isn't the best idea, huh? I'll hold off on making any decisions about the other one for now. She lifted an eyebrow with curiosity. I think their reaction would probably be similar to how I feel. I waved my hand towards the beautiful room. A larger portion. Absolutely. I was just joking around, you know? I'm aware. However, some might be. I gave a nod. I enjoyed my coffee while I waited. We exchanged glances over the rims of our cups, taking each other in, both waiting for the other to say something. I was happy to wait. It was her making the provocative comments, not me. She set her cup down and beamed. I bet you're curious about why I see you as an exception. She crossed her legs again, showing a hint of thigh. I took a quick look at her legs before returning my gaze to her face. I decided to stay focused and not let anything distract me. I just shrugged. I'm curious, but I can hold back my curiosity. That's the reason. I'm a bit confused. I'm feeling a bit scared. I really hope that's not the case. Let's start from the beginning. Hey there. You walked into the office. It wasn't quite what you had in mind, and it left you feeling a little overwhelmed, but you still found a way to flirt politely with Lena. Here I am. I'm definitely not what you expected, but you don't seem to stare. She raised a hand in warning. I know exactly how I come across to men. I've offered you plenty of chances to admire my legs. They're lovely, don't you think? She crossed them once more, taking her time and being thoughtful about it. This time, I took a moment to look. Those legs were really nice. The kind you love to picture snuggled around your back or your head. I was feeling a bit warm. After a little while, I looked up to meet her gaze. She had a mysterious smile on her face. That sounds great. I totally agree. What are you trying to say? What I'm trying to say is to stay focused. You stay focused and avoid distractions. I've received really great feedback from every company you've collaborated with. Absolutely. Even Mrs. Cartwright. I was really surprised by that. It must have lit up my face because her smile grew even wider. Isn't it a little warm in here? What do you think? Would it be okay if I open the window? Please, go ahead. Is it all right if I take my jacket off? Go ahead. This is just a casual chat, nothing too formal. She had to stretch a bit to reach the window catch. The pose caused her to press against her blouse. I really had no clue how old she was, maybe in their mid-30s. Even so, she had a fantastic figure. Do you want me to grab that for you? I had the opportunity to volunteer. Absolutely not. It's just a little stiff, that's all. Here you go. Sounds good. The catch wasn't the only thing that felt a little rigid. I made a little adjustment before getting comfy in my seat again. She turned and settled herself on the windowsill. The evening light turned her hair into a lovely dark blonde halo. I couldn't help but smile to myself. She was gently pressing all the right buttons, clearly on purpose. It took me some time to understand why. I decided to remain calm and composed. Oh, not Mrs. Cartwright herself, of course, she continued. But some people saw it. That's great. What brings you here? Could you please repeat that? Here you go. It's great to have you on board. You have so much potential. For personal reasons, she gave me a curious look. Until I get to know you a bit more personally, and not just in a work context, that's all I can share for now. What if I mentioned that I might not keep you on my list anymore? I offered a wild smile. Just a friendly reminder, I've already received another offer. She chuckled. Well said. Sure thing, I totally understand, no worries. I do have a little issue though. It seems like you have a lot of skills that go beyond what your current work requires. You're aware, just like I am, that there isn't much contracting work available at a senior level. The project leader position was a unique case. If you're looking for that kind of work, you might want to check out Deloitte or one of the other big firms. She took a seat once more. This time, she sat on the edge of her seat, elbows on her knees and hands gently clasped in front of her. I want to be completely open with you, and I hope you'll feel comfortable doing the same. Her voice was sincere. You've been really great for me. I really appreciate your help. My reputation has improved because of you. You've really raised the bar for my other contractors, and I've received quite a few applications from some great candidates. I really want to hold on to you, but I'm not quite sure how to do it. You could totally get up and walk out right now, and honestly, there's nothing I could do about it. I really hope that doesn't happen. I'm curious about what I can do to encourage you to stay. To do that, I'd love to understand what inspires you. What inspires you? I'm suggesting that we consider this for a bit. We set aside our relationship and work and just enjoy a good chat. She let out a small chuckle. You just never know. You could even enjoy a nice dinner from it. It was my turn to get up. This was quite a surprise. What gets me excited? So far, nothing has happened. I just reacted to what happened before and have been on autopilot since then. I strolled over to the window and took a moment to gaze down at the tail end of the rush hour traffic outside. Money was great, not just for its own sake, but for all the possibilities it opens up for you. Once I took care of my expenses, I found that there wasn't much I really wanted to do with the rest. Feeling satisfied with your job is really important. I enjoy being challenged and take pride in doing a great job. My own sense of achievement was more important than the client's satisfaction. I really enjoyed the variety, which is why I leaned towards contracting. I let out a little sigh. I knew I had to share it with her. I turned to look at her. No worries. I wanted to organize my thoughts a bit. You brought up honesty. I honestly didn't expect you to be so open. Since you have, I need to bring up a few things that I was hoping to avoid discussing. It can be quite challenging, even at this moment. I appreciate your understanding. She didn't respond, but I could see a look of understanding on her face. I shared with her the story of catching Laura, my ex-wife, flagrante delicto. I shared with her how, in a moment of foolishness, I had walked out instead of asking her to leave, and how her crafty lawyer had really taken advantage of me since mine ended up being quite useless. I shared with her how I just poked a pin in the map and found myself here. Well, there you go, I said with a shrug, making my way back to my seat. I'm feeling a bit uncertain about what I want, where I'm headed, or what the future might bring. I smiled with a hint of irony. Got any thoughts? She gently reached out and touched my hand as I walked by. Once more, it was just a brief encounter, but the sense of closeness was truly special. She truly was an exceptional woman in every way. Along with being attractive, accomplished, and self-assured, she created a sense of closeness, making it feel like she was your best friend and trusted confidant. "Thanks a lot," she said with a smile. "Thank you for being so open and honest." I flashed her a crooked smile. "You're an impressive woman, Miss Boswell. In just an hour, you've gotten me to share something I promised I wouldn't bring up. You're quite impressive yourself." It's Natasha. It's completely understandable to feel a bit upset about your experiences and maybe even find yourself in a moment of self-reflection. I didn't find either one. I just shrugged. It felt like there wasn't really a reason to say anything. She leaned back in her chair once more, allowing me another chance to appreciate her legs. I went ahead and took it. "I'm going to switch gears now. I appreciate you asking if I had any ideas. Putting irony aside, some might join us as we chat. I'm not sure about you, but I'm in the mood for a drink. Since I moved here, I've come to appreciate the merits of whiskey, which I enjoy with a splash of water." A panel on the wall revealed a delightful drinks cabinet. I watched her with admiration as she gracefully and expertly prepared the drinks. I needed to be cautious. She was an enchanting woman, one I could easily fall for, even though I instinctively understood that, just like the receptionist, she was out of my reach. I was so wrapped up in my thoughts that I didn't have a moment to look away before she turned. She smiled, and I felt my cheeks warm up. "Feel free to take a look if you'd like. Unlike many these days, I appreciate it when a man admires me. I have my reasons for dressing this way." That sparked our first topic to chat about. She viewed women who felt insulted by compliments about their looks as lacking understanding and perhaps holding back their true feelings. It was a big, tough world, and everyone had to make the most of the tools they had to achieve their goals. Looks were just as important as muscles or brains. If you were ready to use them and stand up for yourself, you might get overlooked. We came to the understanding that being successful doesn't require being unpleasant. Usually, you can achieve what you want more effortlessly by being friendly and courteous instead of being harsh and demanding. We also talked about how this might be seen as a weakness, and it's important to be ready to stand your ground when necessary. We explored together for more than an hour, and it felt like I had known her forever. I really like chatting with women. I really enjoy hearing their unique perspectives on life, but I've never had a conversation quite like the one Natasha and I shared that evening. Eventually, we began to relax and take it easy. "I can't recall the last time I had such a delightful conversation," she said. "Absolutely. You're such an interesting woman, Natasha. Thanks a bunch. I give it my best shot. Well, I think it's time we chat about why you're here. Could you share some details about this job offer?" "There's not a whole lot to share. I'll be working with the operations director as a special projects manager. If I express my interest, I can gather more details." "Sure thing. Could you share the advantages and disadvantages?" I went over the thoughts that had been swirling in my mind. "It sounds like you've really considered it. I'm not really surprised, to be honest. I would have been even more surprised if you hadn't. How about we give a suppose a go now? Imagine you receive exactly what you desire in terms of guarantees. Would you like to take it?" "I'm really not sure." "That sounds really appealing. I would feel the same way if I were in your position. Let's keep going with our discussion. What if you found yourself feeling so tempted to say yes? What can I do to convince you to say no?" I gazed at her in surprise. There's a saying in cricket that you should accept the bad light if it's given, especially when you're not doing so well. I'm a bit confused. If you find yourself in a tough spot, try to find a way to delay giving up. You just never know. Tomorrow, it could rain, or their star bowler might have a little mishap and break his arm, or your team could bat like champions. If you don't share anything with me, I'll just go with the flow and embrace the light. No worries, you haven't made any commitments just yet, and tomorrow is a brand new day. There's still a chance I could win." As we chatted, the sky was slowly turning dark. In this part of the country, and at this time of year, the evenings are long, stretching out our activities as the light gently fades from the sky. We didn't turn on the lights yet. As the last rays of daylight faded, Natasha appeared to radiate with a warm glow. I just couldn't look away. I realized what would ensure my loyalty forever. But I also understood that such a treasure was out of my reach. I let out a little laugh. "Well, the answer isn't nothing. I'm not quite sure about that. Do you not?" "I believe you do." Her voice had a warm and captivating quality. "Let me share a little story with you. I just want to mention that I'd appreciate it if you could keep our conversation between us, but I trust you already understand that. You're a person of great integrity." She took a moment to pause. "You might be curious about how, as the owner of a small employment agency, I managed to decorate this office the way it is. The quick answer is that the employment agency is just one piece of the puzzle. The agency does make a decent profit, that's for sure, but it's not quite enough to cover the costs of this place. Many people believe that the most significant income can be found in prostitution." "Huh? Take your time. I would really appreciate it if you could listen to me. I'm a sex worker, and you can call me whatever you like. The door is just over there." I found myself comfortably settled in my chair. The words she chose didn't feel right, and I found it hard to connect them with her at all. I didn't doubt her, I just sensed there was more beneath the straightforward statement. Oh, no reaction? No wave of moral outrage? No judgment? Not feeling any disgust? There was a touch of skepticism in her voice. "Absolutely not. None of these," I said gently. "I've had the pleasure of working with you for 6 months, and it was wonderful to get to know you even better this evening. I really like you and have a lot of respect for you. I'm really surprised. But that's what you meant to do. Using shock tactics isn't the way to go." In the quiet, I could hear her let out a long-held breath. "I had a feeling they wouldn't, but you were still a bit concerned," I said with a little laugh. "Absolutely. Actually, my name isn't Boswell. I made a change. As a 17-year-old girl, I was drawn away from my home in Ukraine by the promise of a great job in Britain. The job ended up being prostitution. I feel really fortunate. I had only been here a few weeks when the group that helped me get into the country was caught, and the place I was staying was searched. They couldn't find me. I wasn't being very helpful, so I found myself tied up and locked in a small shed at a nearby allotment. When no one showed up, I was able to get free, but I couldn't quite make it out of the shed. A friendly man walking his dog came across me. Luckily, he didn't call the police, and even better, he had a fondness for young girls. I spent 3 wonderful years with him. He showed me so much, helped me get a passport, taught me English, and provided me with an education. I'm so grateful to him for everything he's done. He was a bit older and had some heart issues. He experienced a heart attack. It wasn't fatal, but he sensed that his time was drawing near. He set things up, helped me by putting money into bank accounts and giving me valuable items that I could sell. We came up with a fun escape plan. He experienced another heart attack, and unfortunately, it was fatal this time. In the excitement, I quietly slipped away, just like we planned. I've relocated to a different city. I understood that I was going to become a prostitute, but I also knew it would be on my own terms. I became a part of an escort agency. I may not have been great at first, but I discovered what I needed to learn to improve. I've moved again. This time, I used the money my generous benefactor had given me to learn what I needed: grooming, deportment, dress sense, and makeup. I eagerly read through the arts magazines. I spent a lot of time at the public library. I visited the theater, enjoyed some movies at the cinema, and attended concerts. It's wonderful how affordable you can make these things if you give it a go. When I felt prepared, I decided to join another escort agency. This time, let's make it even better. I was all set and I achieved my goals. It just didn't feel like enough. I was still relying on the agency and I really wanted to be independent. However, I used my dates to discover more about what motivates men and women. As I discovered new things, I started to make my plans. I just moved here. I relocated here because I had a lovely client, a kind gentleman, who resided in this area. I reached out to him quietly and let him know I was in town and ready to connect. He was a really nice guy. He referred some business to me, and I was able to get established. I did run into a little issue though. All the money I made was off the books. I haven't paid my taxes or national insurance yet. I had some money, but I didn't have a formal job, and I knew it was just a matter of time before the authorities would catch on. I was looking for a genuine front. Then I had my great idea. Call girls typically work on an irregular basis. They certainly do if they're a bit particular. I recognized a few, so I gave them a try. They came to an agreement, and that's how this agency came to life. At first, I only went to see prostitutes. They would go camping for a few days or a week, just enough to provide them with a real job. I took care of registering them with the tax folks and everything else, and just like that, we could breathe a little easier. If we take care, we can enjoy fairly open lives without anyone raising any questions. She took a moment to enjoy her drink, and then let out a little laugh. I didn't expect that genuine people would find out about me and want to join in. I hadn't thought about how interesting it would be to have a high-class hooker as a receptionist or something like that. Bosses quickly started calling, eager for more. Out of the blue, I realized I had a real, authentic business on my hands, something I wasn't quite ready for. It was quite a challenge, and there were a few moments when it almost fell apart. On one side, I had a wonderful group of clients and some fantastic temps, while on the other, there was another set of clients looking for special services. I found it challenging to keep them separate, but I did it. Little by little, the business flourished, and now, here we are. I was at a loss for words. I was really surprised. Wow, that's surprising. So touched and inspired by her story. She had displayed incredible strength and perseverance. I believed that the reality of her life was much more challenging than she let on, yet she emerged from every tough situation even stronger and better than before. Grubble, I mentioned. I cleared my throat, which had gotten quite dry. Thanks a bunch. Thanks so much for your trust. I really appreciate your honesty. Right now, I can only express my feelings with one word: admiration. It's truly inspiring to see someone who has faced similar challenges and emerged in such a positive way. How can you tell what I'm like? I'm a professional escort. I've been doing this for 18 years. To excel, it's important to understand your clients and provide them with exactly what they desire. I'm doing really well. It was pretty obvious what was meant. I shook my head, then remembered she couldn't see it in the dim light. Absolutely not. My voice was a bit rough. I've been a contractor for more than 10 years. To be a great contractor, it's important to provide the client with what they need while gently guiding them to feel like they're getting exactly what they desire. I'm a really great contractor. I'm completely confident and ready for anything. She let out a nervous chuckle. Well, just make sure not to reveal that there's a real Victoria Caldwell behind the facade. I have a reputation to uphold. It may not have been a lot, but it definitely helped ease the tension. Whether she was a hooker or not, I found myself wanting her more than I had ever wanted anyone else. I also realized that my chances of that happening were slipping away quickly. All of a sudden, it just didn't matter to me anymore. The room was dimly lit. I could hardly see her figure in the chair. I could either accept the job offer or look for another agency. No matter what happens, I just needed to share it with her. You were curious about what might keep me here. I have an answer, and it's a really simple one. Just one word: you. Not the Victoria Caldwell who's a call girl, but the Victoria Caldwell that's right here with me now. I'm really sorry. I'll look for my jacket and head out. I'll look for another agency. Please stay right where you are. Are you curious to hear my response? I let out a quick, cheerful laugh. Not quite. So, you're not curious to find out that the answer is yes? The empty whiskey glass slipped from my relaxed fingers and landed softly on the carpet. My ears were filled with a loud roar, and I could feel sweat breaking out all over my body. I felt like the chair and I were in perfect harmony. I wouldn't be able to get up if there was a bomb underneath it. Hey there. I did it. Absolutely, she said with confidence. However, there's a little something to keep in mind. I would love for you to come and work with me. Oh, I really need you to come and work with me. The business is growing. I'm managing, but it's a bit tough. Honestly, I'm just getting by. I'm really struggling to hang in there. I've been searching for someone for quite a while now. I've been keeping an eye on you. I was really hopeful when you handled things with Mrs. Cartwright. When you navigated the project leader's role, I had a feeling. I always felt you were the perfect fit. The challenge was figuring out how to convince you. So this evening, I realized I had the solution. Oh, that sounds a bit distant and unfeeling. That's not quite how it is. If you were someone else, IDV might have tried different ways to win you over, like money, perks, shares, or something else. Once we began chatting, it was clear to me that you were interested, and I felt the same way about you. Oh my goodness. I'm not quite sure what to say. Wow, you've really changed everything for me. Go ahead and say yes. If I hadn't been myself, as you mentioned, would you still have offered yourself? You scum sucker, she said playfully, then let out a short laugh. I guess I brought this on myself, huh? If I pursue someone with your skills, I have to expect that you'll put them to use. Sure, but it would have been just a business arrangement. You got what you were looking for, this Victoria Caldwell. Absolutely. Oh, interesting. You mentioned that I should say yes. I'm sharing my thoughts. Absolutely, I'm excited to work with you. Absolutely, I'll go with the real Victoria Caldwell. Honestly, I'm open to any arrangement with Victoria Caldwell. Absolutely. Oh, she said in a soft little voice. I'm here. Feeling a bit swamped. What's the reason? It was how you expressed it. Hey there. Strong, thanks a bunch. I noticed her take a breath. I heard her smile, more than I saw it. Absolutely. If you perform well, there will be a bonus waiting for you. Oh, really? Well, I just can't keep the agency going like this. If I don't succeed, it could lead to a lot of complications, and some people might end up feeling upset. When you manage to stabilize it, many people will be really thankful and will probably want to express their appreciation. I'm thinking of Rowena, Charlotte, Emily, Mia, and Hannah. I chuckled and all the tension just melted away. Wow, just a second, please. I've only agreed to you so far, and I have a feeling that just managing you is going to be quite the challenge, let alone a whole harem. Let's hold off on discussing bonuses and extras until we have a clearer picture of our situation. She chuckled. A heartfelt, easygoing laugh that feels real. That sounds good. All right then, how about giving the senior partner a kiss? Are we ready to finalize the contract? Of course. I reached out for her hand in the dark and gently helped her to her feet. Then the senior partner can treat the junior partner to dinner. She certainly did. In time. Hey there, wonderful listeners. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy what you hear, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.